Europejskie Forum
European Forum for New Ideas 2016. It's time for the official opening. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Dorota Warakomska. Well, thank you so much for this applause. I understand that some of you are still working on their soup. However, let me have your attention because we are about to start our Gala. This is the 6th time when Lewiatan organizes this event together with Business Europe. Business Europe is the largest business organization in Europe. Sopot is another co-organizer of this forum. The leading theme of this year's edition is the future of work, realities, dreams, and delusions. We are certainly witnessing a major breakthrough. Labor relations that were built in 20th century are changing as we speak, and this is what we are going to discuss. The new ways, the new directions in 21st century, and the implications of the new industrial revolution. For the 6th time in this pavilion, we are going to argue, we are going to discuss, we are going to debate, we are going to have plenary sessions, report presentations, panel discussions, and night owl discussions. This is also an excellent opportunity for networking, to meet and speak to people who will shape up the future of Poland, Europe, and the world. Selected events of this year's forum will be transmitted and broadcasted online through the official YouTube channel. So let me welcome everyone who joined us online. So let's applaud internet participants who join us tonight online. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to welcome all the guests that arrived to the Pavilion of New Ideas, partners, the Program Council, and the participants of the 6th European Forum for New Ideas. Let me extend very cordial welcome to Mr. Frans Timmermans, the first Vice President of the European Commission. Let me welcome the representatives of the European Parliament, European Commission, and the members of the Employers Group of the European Economic and Social Committee. I would like to extend a cordial welcome to Emma Marcegaglia, the President of the Business Europe, and let me welcome social partners from Poland and Europe. I would like to welcome ambassadors and members of the Polish Parliament and Senates, including the Vice Chair of Senate, Mr. Bogdan Borusewicz. Let me welcome the governors of the regions and the mayors of the cities and marshals of the regions. I'm happy to see here a lot of representatives of the academic community from Poland and across the world. Let me welcome all the sponsors and all the participants of the European Forum for New Ideas. We appreciate your intellectual curiosity and openness and readiness to embrace the debates that will unfold during the next 3 days. It is time to open officially the European Forum for New Ideas. And the official opening will be performed by Henryka, Bochniarz, President of the Polish Confederation Lewiatan and Vice President of Business Europe. Good evening. Good evening. I hope that after the first starter and one soup, you will be awake. I've just had a discussion with Prime Minister Jerzy Buzek, and he complained that during the previous editions we kept on talking and he was starving. Therefore, the organizers decided to accommodate his request, and we thought that first we will offer starter and soup. But now Mr. Buzek concluded that next time we will serve only starters for the start, because soup takes too long. Well, Dorota welcomed all the fantastic guests that arrived to participate in our EFNI event. I just want to say that I'm truly happy that, again, we keep the tradition, and at the end of September we meet in Sopot. And I do hope that the 6th European Forum for New Ideas will be well remembered, and as a result, you will join us again next year during the 7th European Forum for New Ideas. As you may recall, the first forum took place in 2011 during the year of Polish presidency, and it was supposed to be a one-off event. Today, it seems that it was ages ago, but some things has never changed. The need to have an open and sincere debate and discussion persisted. We had no other choice. We had to commit ourselves to organize another edition of the European Forum for New Ideas. And then it was rolled over from one year to another. Today, this is one of the most important events of this kind organized in Poland. And there are very few occasions, as a matter of fact, where people from all walks of life come together and debate, whether they come from academia, business, politics, NGO sector. And they are all focused on important topics. At that time, the first time, we wanted to join the debate about the future of the European Union. And during the past 5 years, these discussions really impacted the operation of our Confederation, but on top of it, I do hope that it has some impact on the developments in Poland and across Europe. And you may ask yourself a question, why that much talking? What is it all for? But I believe that discussion is the core and the heart of democracy. No violence, no force, no autocratic approach, but dialogue and consensus. Why here? Because this is the place where dialogue has started to change the world. Europe would never be possible without August 1980 and Solidarity movement. Let me again welcome Mr. Bogdan Borusewicz, the Deputy Chair of the Polish Senate. Although there are many people gathered here who may claim credit for the success that Poland accomplished after 1989, today we need even more solidarity and more discussion. Solidarity is in the decay for some reason, and in addition, instead of the debate, we have just applause. Tishner once said that Polish labor was truly ill or sick. Today, labor situation is better. Unemployment is low, minimum wage is higher, health insurance and social insurance is required, new rules of the game in the world of employment. Definitely the world of labor is in a much better shape than the world of politics. Polish politics is definitely a sick patient. This same disease affects many countries around the world under different names. The crisis of trust, crisis of confidence, populism, cynicism, you name it. Europe is falling apart. Poland is split into different camps. Civic liberties are jeopardized. Economy is at risk. Education is also on the line. We are not able to avoid these topics. We need to address them. We have to talk about them, but we also need to address the future of labor. Why is it that relevant? Because the challenges that Europe is facing and the world is facing today affect labor and the labor market, closing some avenues and opening new ones. Futurologists claimed that robots and artificial intelligence will take over the control of our lives. People will become redundant. So How shall we approach this vision? Is it ill fate or is it an opportunity to have more creative, more fulfilling life? The revolutionary changes have already affected us, but we have not been able to recognize them. Huge industries collapse, but every day new tech businesses are set up with a huge capitalization. But they employ far fewer employees. In 2006, the three largest global corporations measured by capitalization were GE and Gazprom and Exxon. Today, three largest corporation, it's Apple, Alphabet, and Microsoft. So this is the reality that we are facing. And how we are facing that? We are very reactive and very conservative. We are trying to make the new world fit in the old framework, in this old system of social security and the labor regulation. This is not a good answer to this problem. The fourth industrial revolution is the revolution of talent. It calls for creative thinking, innovative thinking, high emotional intelligence, and ability to combine knowledge from different areas. 60% of kids that go to school today will work in the professions that do not exist today. Therefore, we need very close collaboration between the government, education, NGOs, business, and local administration. We need to have education systems that will meet the needs of the 21st century, including lifelong learning. And what do we have on the table in the education department in Poland? Completely different setup. How many schools or universities in Poland are actually prepared to live up to the challenge of developing talents? We have to invest in human capital. This goes without saying. Labor is also investment, but employees have to accept the fact that stability of employment will be diminished. They have to be more adaptable and more agile. New forms of employment, employee sharing, job sharing, crowd employment, all these things will prevail. And how the trade union organizations approach that? They have a problem how to approach that. And that really shows that we do need an open dialogue. The financial crisis and the migration crisis triggered anxiety against globalization. There are attempts made to protect national economies and curb competition. Protectionism is in a swing. The principle of the same pay for the same job may minimize the export of services. Some people call it the social dumping. Others point out that this is competitiveness. Such measures put competitiveness on hold, and that limits the economic freedom in Europe. Economic freedom helps improve progress and increase investments. The changes of the fourth industrial revolution require fast response from the governments, European institutions, entrepreneurs and employees. The long legal processing is not in line with the current reality. The fourth industrial revolution is a silent event. It doesn't ignite our imagination like visible and spectacular crisis, but if we ignore this, we will pay a high cost. We will waste the talent, we will waste the capabilities, we will have higher social divide, higher unemployment, and the persisting crisis of confidence, mutual confidence and confidence in elites. This debate is about the future of Poland, Europe, and the globe at large. It's not only about the implications of the high-tech for the labor market. It's also about the global things like the climate, social justice, political priorities, or lifestyle. That's why we need to hear from business community. In Poland, we discussed the government sustainable development strategy. In 20 years, Poland should be a wealthy country with a proper justice system, able to compete in Europe and globally, but at the same time, such a far-reaching intervention of the government in the economy through the pension system, healthcare system, or through direct control over state-owned companies. In our opinion, these measures are very much in contradiction to the sustainable development strategy. Political parties try to attain their objectives through the state-owned companies that are staffed with parties' people. As a result, private companies are actually walking out from the stock exchange, and the stock exchange is declining, while the well-performing state-controlled companies will not be able to shoulder all the economic burden of what is happening. And private companies are really the flagship companies for Poland. They invest in Poland and beyond Poland. They make acquisitions. They become leaders in their industries. They don't want to be closed within the framework of Poland. Take PESA, Wielton, Solaris, Maspect, Gdańsk Ship Repair Shipyard, Eris and Aris. We are really proud of all these companies. We are proud of their success. We want to congratulate them, and we want to make sure that they have a smooth journey forward to continue to their growth and development. There are other concerns, like the mandatory business organizations that would have to prevail all across country. Perhaps we will have mandatory trade union organizations with one leading organizations. I believe that we have already seen such scenarios, and we know what was the end of them. Again, private sector is disfavored. A few years ago, we changed our name. Initially, we called ourselves the Confederation of the Private Employers, but a few years ago, we decided that there is no need to divide the private sector from the public sector. But perhaps today we will have to take back the old name to demonstrate that we want to defend the interest of the private sector entrepreneurs, especially that all the state-owned companies that used to be our members decided to walk away from Lewiatan, and we are just very curious who made this decision. This whole idea of the single power is very much against the premise of democracy. It's against the interest of the social dialogue, against the interest of shareholders. Fortunately, we have the new innovative law on the Social Dialogue Council that offers new opportunity for social dialogue. We just need to plan for it, we need to use it, and not to have a dialogue only under the pressure of time. I hope that we will address this issue during our debates with the trade union organizations. When we talk about labor, we have to address the question of liberties that citizens may enjoy, the question of democracy and the mutual confidence, because without that, we would never have the community. Therefore, we talk about the Constitutional Tribunal, about the bad lawmaking, about violation of women's rights, about the expropriation of various rights, culture, history, or media. We are part of this society, we are part of this community, we contributed to the well-being of this country. We are patriots, and we are very responsible for what we do. Therefore, we have to speak and be loud. We have to show that when things are not going well in Poland, Polish business has to be heard in Europe. It's not about complaining, it's about having contribution and meaningful input. We need to hear the voice of business and the civic community. The European Union is a political project, but the ownership is with the people of Europe, not with the governments of Europe. Therefore, it is vital to have our ongoing representation in Europe, the membership in Business Europe, and the collaboration with our European business partners. During the past few years, the European Union has not been just track record of failures or crises. Just remember it, 8 million new jobs during the past few years. In terms of employment, we are pretty much able to catch up with the US. The public sector deficit went down below 2%. The digital agenda will generate another 2 million jobs. And that is combined with the very good protection of employees, consumers, health insurance and social insurance, and very demanding climate agenda. We may take it for granted, but when we look around the world, when you look at the map of the world, you can tell that some European countries are not even visible on the global map. Each of the 28 member states will lose in the global competition if they want to go their own way. Therefore, we remember what was promised at the Bratislava summit. We understand that the world is driving forward at a very fast rate. We don't want to be those passive observers. Here at Sopot, we may expect a very passionate debate going from the morning until the wee hours. And this discussion will be our contribution to the very meaningful and important European debate. And hopefully, when we complete our process with the adoption of the Sopot Declaration, it will be noticed in Warsaw and in Brussels. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being active. Thank you for providing the stimulus for us to take all possible measures and best endeavors to fight for the better future of Poland and the world. And may power be with you. Thank you very much. I understand that you do have the force since you're applauding us. Now I would like to invite my friend and the president of Business Europe, Emma Marcegaglia.
Dear Henryka, First Vice President Timmermans, President Buzek, Mayor Karnowski, sorry for my pronunciation, maybe next time I will be a little bit better, but distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, I would like really to start by thanking my good friend Henryka for inviting me here tonight. It's a pleasure for me to be back. I was here also last year together with you at the opening of Gala of your European Forum for New Ideas of also this year. And it's also a great honor for all of us to have First Vice President Timmermans here with us. We know that your agenda is very busy, and it's really an honor, and we are very glad that you're here with us. So thank you very much. I would like also to congratulate the Polish Confederation, Lewiatan, member of Business Europe, for this extraordinary organization. And we really support you, and as you said before, we're sure that you will go on in organizing this very important moment in which you discuss about the future of work, reality, dreams, and illusions. So it's really very important to have this brainstorming and to discuss about very important issues of our future. Future growth and future jobs, I think, very much depend also on what will happen at the European Union. So tonight, I would like very shortly to make some reflection with you of the three things you are talking about in these 3 days: the realities of that the companies are facing in Europe, the delusion that we have together to avoid, and also the dream of Business Europe for what regards the future of Europe. So starting from the realities, I will make 5 points on this. The first point is that it's very clear to all of us that the economy is global. So our customers are spread throughout the world. Our suppliers and also the value chain which we are working are global as well. We have to compete to conquer part of the global market, and we also compete with people who want to, or with companies who want to come and have part of the market in Europe. So the first thing which is very important is that we have to be very competitive. We have to be more competitive than what we are today. And this is the only way to create growth and jobs. And in Europe, to do this, we need to do our job as companies, but also we need supportive policies and supportive societies. Second point is very clear also for me and for us. I think growth and job creation in Europe depends on high added value export. So I think also Henryka said this very clearly, protectionism is not the answer to this. We need good trade agreement that goes beyond the tariff reduction and also deal with new regulatory standards, protecting investment. So it's really very important to go on to keep the market open and to have a very good trade agreement. Reality number 3, Henryka said this very clearly, technological change and the digitalization, and we are living this very clearly, but the technological change and digitalization require huge investment, both public and private investment. And of course, we need not any investment, but we need productive investment. And we have to say this very clearly. Europe is lagging behind on this point. In 2015, EU investment was as low as 2009, while in the US it is 15% beyond the level of 2009. So a full implementation of the Juncker plan is for us very important, is part of the solution, and we have to support this. But also we need to do other things to have more investment in Europe. We have to remove obstacles to productive investment, and we have different obstacles. First of all, we need to remove regulation that fragment our single market. Our single market is still a very important thing to enhance growth. We need also to remove obstacle that doesn't work for innovation, delay digitalization, undermine access to finance, mostly for small, medium enterprise. We have also to remove the political bias to work fiscal consolidation through tax increase and public investment cuts. We need exactly the opposite of that, and we need enhancing reforms. And also we need to remove risk-adverse culture in society, and in some countries also a kind of hostility towards entrepreneurship, which is really present in some countries. So reality number 4, people are very important for the success of companies. You will discuss, and Henryka said this is very important also to discuss about the labor market, what we need also with the unions. And I think that it's very important to say that in an economy like the one we are, in these changes that we are facing, it's very important not to have a too much rigid labor market. We need to have a more flexible labor market, but because of one thing, because if you look at what's going on in Europe, we have this very sad paradox where we have a very high level of unemployment, mainly of youth in employment, with unfilled vacancies. So we need to work a lot on the labor market, we need to have more flexible labor market, and we need not to stay stick on what we have done until now. Reality number 5 is about manufacturing industry. I think, and we all think, that manufacturing industry is key. The Association of Business from Northern Italy, I'm Italian, so I will say this, is called Asso Lombarda, has made a very good study benchmarking the 5 most dynamic industrial regions in Europe, which are Baden-Württemberg, Lombardy, Bayern, Rhone-Alpes, and Catalonia. And together, these 5 regions account for 12.5% of the GDP and for 19.6% of manufacturing value added. So the future of growth and employment requires to reverse the decline of the share of industry in our GDP. If you look what was this share of industry on GDP in 2000, it was 18.8%, now it's 15.3%. So we ask the Commission and we ask all the European institutions to have a very strong focus on enhancing industry. Manufacturing system is still very important if we want to create jobs and if we want to have more growth. We know that there are some action that are being taken about notably to develop Industry 4.0 in the context of the digital single market strategy, but we need to have a very strong focus on competitiveness. And sometimes we still see some things on environment, on climate, on energy policy, where we go in the opposite direction. So we really need to enhance competitiveness to have a very strong manufacturing system in Europe. And now I would like to also to underline what are the delusions that we see in Europe right now. First things that we heard very often is that protectionism is the answer to all what is going on in Europe. So we need to protect more our market, we need to protect more our country. This is absolutely not true. It's very clear that the rise of 1 percentage point in the ratio of trade to GDP increases output per person by at least 0.5%. So protectionism can only create a downward spiral and will eat European citizens. So we want to say this very clearly. Protectionism that we see spreading out all over the world is not the right direction, is not the right answer. We need to still have a market that remains open. The second delusion is about the idea that we should move away from the so-called austerity policies, and this could be the solution. Well, of course, as Business Europe, we say we have to use the flexibility in the Stability and Growth Pact. The flexibility is there, and we have to use it. But we need to maintain the core of the so-called the Stability and Growth Pact, because the idea that we can make growth having more public spending or having more public debt is completely not true. So we really think that we have to stick on the Stability and Growth Pact with the flexibility that we need. We need to have countries that goes on in enhancing reforms, and at the same time we also need that countries which have the margin for maneuver to invest more should do it. So we really need to have all these things together. The third delusion, the third thing that is very often heard is the European Central Bank can fix all our economic problems. This is not true. Of course, the measures taken by the ECB were necessary and played a very important role in Europe, but central banks' measures can only buy time. If we don't have government, national government, and also European institutions that enhance the reforms to have more competitiveness, the monetary policy is not enough by itself. Fourth delusion is when we heard about people saying protecting all jobs and resisting change is the best way to fight unemployment. Henryka said this already. We are living in a situation where everything is changing very fast. We don't have to try to stop everything. We have to try to face the change, and we have to support the workers to adapt. We have to invest a lot in training, in education, in university, but the solution is not to stop everything as it is now, but we have to understand what are the changes that we have to face. And the last one, delusion, as I said, as I call delusion number 5, is that we heard very often in Europe saying the situation in my country, and this is heard spread out all over Europe, the situation in my country would be much better if we were not member of the European Union. This is, of course, not true. It's very clear that all the most important challenges that we face now, think about security, think about migration, think about Brexit, think about the problem of climate change, have all an international dimension, and the only way to try to solve this problem is to work together and to work at the European level. So we really think we should try to fight against these things that we heard every day in Europe. Of course, the European Union is not perfect. There are a lot of improvements that we need, but Europe is our home, and we have to really try to have a better Europe and a stronger Europe. And then I come to the dream, because dreams are always very important in critical situation like this. I think it's important to be very pragmatic, to have a short-term view, but also it's very important to have a long-term view and also to have a dream. And so I would like to very shortly say what is the Business Europe dream on Europe. First of all, we would like to have a European Union with strong foundation and a resilient economy. On the first problem that we have to face on Brexit, we think it's very important to have a successful negotiation that try to mitigate the adverse effect on citizens and on workers. And we think it's very important to try to have to maintain a close economic relation between EU and UK, but this is very clear for us, without undermining the EU integration process, and we don't like the idea to have like a cherry picking and try to take this and not to take this. We think that the integrity of the single markets with the 4 single market freedoms have to stay there, and we cannot, go away from this point. Then, of course, we would like to see Europe that goes on with the necessary reforms. We would like to see European Commission to be really the champion for European unity. And we like also to see, the Commission and all the European institutions that really concentrate where there is a value added in being together. So we don't like to see the Commission or the European institution to regulate or to make laws on things where it's better that national government can regulate, but we like to see the European institution to concentrate where really Europe can value added. And of course, I'm talking about external borders management, I'm talking about the single market, I'm talking about international trade policies, which are very important. So we think that the measure that have been announced by President of the European Commission, Mr. Juncker, in his speech on the State of the Union and the roadmap are a very useful first step. And as I said before, I think we have to build on this with a short-term targets and also with a long-term solution that we all need. So we think that in the short term, we need to have some clear solution on how to protect the external borders, to tackle illegal immigration and safeguard the Schengen area, which is essential to answer to citizen security concern, which is one of the key points. So we need pragmatic and short-term solution on this point. We need to have also delivering on the new single market strategy. The single market is still, as I said, a very important pillar for our growth in Europe. We need to, as I said before, to see a reverse of the decline of the manufacturing industry. We need to have more innovation in Europe. Sometimes we see really an adverse risk attitude, an adverse attitude towards innovation. I always make a joke, and Mr. Timmermans will excuse me, but I always make this joke. When there is an innovation, you can see different attitude of different people from all over the world. So if there is an innovation, an American will say, well, let's make a success out of it. If you see a Chinese person, he will say, well, let's copy it. And if you see a European person, he will say, well, let's regulate it. So I think we should change a little bit this kind of attitude. We should say, let's make the success out of it. Let's work on it. So we really need to work a lot on this. And of course, we would like to see a Europe where the future of young people is better. We risk to be the first person that will see where our children will have a level of life which is worse than the one we had. So this is very bad. So we have to invest a lot on apprenticeship, on improving education, on training, on removing regulatory and cost obstacles to their recruitment, and also to encourage young entrepreneurship. So I think we have a lot of things to do on a European level, but also we need also to have a government, national government, to make their job. We are, I think we all together, also at the national level, we need to have a positive narrative on the European Union. It's not nice to see sometimes national government that say, well, if something is good, it's because I did it. If there is something that doesn't work, it's the Commission, it's the European Commission fault. We want to see also national government to stick on their responsibility, and this is very important. So we really need to see a better Europe. We really need to see a Europe where there are more investment. We really need to see a Europe where there is open market, better trade agreement, where there is really a way to enhance growth and to go on with this. And also, let me say a final word also on this trade part. We think in these years, Europe did a lot of good things. We signed a lot of good agreements. Now we are in a situation where some governments and people think that, as I said before, opening the market and keeping the market open is something that can create more poverty, more inequality. We don't think this is right. We think we need to have good agreement. We need to go on with the TTIP, with the agreement with the United States of America, and we need also to fix the CET agreement, the agreement with Canada, which is very important. If we don't do this, the problem will be a big problem. It means that, the European Union will not be more credible to go on and sign new trade agreements. So we really need to fix CETA, first of all, and then to go on with TTIP. So let me finish saying that we are in a very critical moment. Henryka said this very clear. We see a lot of uncertainty. We have the migration crisis. We have the terrorism to face. We have some countries where unemployment is still very high. We have part of the world which are completely in war, in a very difficult situation. So the only way to face this is to stay together, to enhance and to have a better Europe, a stronger Europe, and us as Business Europe, we will do our best really to fight for a better Europe, and also criticizing the institution, also the Commission or the Parliament if they are not doing well, but staying on the fact that it's very clear that our future will be in Europe and not everything else. And now let me say, and I finish, one word on Poland. As you know, I'm Italian. I love Poland a lot. I have a lot of very good friends here, Henryka, Luigi, Lovaglio, and also a lot of our friends. I love this country. I also, as entrepreneur, I invested in this country. I'm in the steel industry, so not a very, easy one. I invested more than 250 million euro here in Poland in the area of Kluczbork. I'm very happy with my investment. The people who are working with me, our workers are very good. We achieved the level of productivity that we had in Italy after 30 or 40 years of work. Here we achieved the same level of productivity in 2 or 3 years. I have very strong and good suppliers, Polish companies. I have very good banks here, so I know very well that the political moment in this country is difficult, but I strongly believe, I still very strongly believe in Polish companies, in Polish workers. We, as Business Europe, we strongly believe in Lewiatan. I think your president is a very courageous woman, and I really appreciate her. I think that having a national association of companies, of private companies that stay like they are, is a means to have more freedom, means to have more democracy. And so myself personally, and also as Business Europe, we will always support you also in difficult moments. So you will always can count on us on helping you, because as I said, we really strongly believe in Poland, we believe in you, and we are sure that even though you're living a difficult situation, you will manage that, and we will be with you because we are all Europeans and we share the same destiny. Thank you very much.
Marcegaglia, President Business Europe.
President of Business Europe, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, now the city of Sopot is for the 6th time, as we know, is co-organizer of the European Forum of New Ideas. And now we have the mayor of Sopot, Mr. Jacek Karnowski. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The plan was that on behalf of Janusz Lewandowski and other wealthy people of Sopot, I would welcome all of you, because during our vacation we have welcomed the beneficiaries of 500 plus new social and family support program of the Polish government. So now we welcome you. Well, we wanted to invite you over to Spativ, to the exhibition of Cossack Art Gallery, but the presentation of the speech of President Henryka Bochniarz reversed all of it. And now I have only 3 minutes, but I need to refer to the meeting I took part in 2 days ago in Wrocław. These were hundreds of Polish mayors united
in, well, our Confederation of the Polish cities. There were several marshals of the regions. And, well, it would be difficult for you to guess, but the main problem was, the main issue we discussed was social capital. We're talking about this spoiling of Polish education, and also we talked about the labor market. And actually the difficulties we face there in metropolitan areas, big conurbation namely, we have very low unemployment rate. And the Polish government does not really notice, some Polish politicians don't notice it, that now we have over 1 million of our friends from Ukraine, and we want them to stay here. But they do not notice that we have the migration crisis in the European Union, and that we should get ready to it. And honestly speaking, as mayors of Polish cities, we have contacts with our friends, well, from, again, I have to say, Western Europe, who face this issue, such as, well, in Sopot now. We have a delegation from a city in Germany, which have very difficult problems with immigrants and refugees. Well, we are a bit of ashamed that we don't show any solidarity to other parts in Europe, which is why my comments, well, in Wrocław 2 days ago, we decided that we had to get ready to it, although the Polish government chooses not to notice it, because this issue will be our issue, and we want it to be our issue, because we are one Europe. And again, this is why we have to learn it, and I'm very happy that this conference is organized here in Sopot, because Sopot has always been very open to Europe, and I don't know whether you know it, maybe not, but the turnout in the pre-accession referendum was the highest in Poland, although we have the oldest population here. I'm very happy you came here, and I hope that we'll be having an understanding between the Employers Association and the mayors of Polish cities, like we have this historic agreement between the teachers' union and Polish mayors, because you used to fight a lot, but now we put it aside because we have much more important problems to solve. So I want to encourage you to have very fruitful discussion. Thank you. Jacek Karnowski, the mayor of Sopot. Thank you. Yet again, you might know it perfectly well. The partner of the opening gala is Pekao Bank SA, and the participants of the 6th forum will be welcomed by the president of the management board, Mr. Luigi Lovaglio.
First of all, I would like to welcome all of you on behalf also of Pekao. We are here for the 4th time in a row, right? And when we spoke with Nika, we liked the idea. We were impressed by the professionalism in organizing, the passion, and these are elements that convince us to be partner of this opening gala. And normally, as we do in Pekao, if we are partner and we set up a partnership, we are partner forever, because this is the approach we have also with our customers. The ground, the base to take this decision was very simple. We said we believe that the role of a bank as Pekao, that is a leading bank in the country, goes beyond the protection of the asset of our customers that are quite important. We believe that we have a role to promote, to support the growth economy, the prosperity of the country, and as well the improvement of the standard of living of the people. And I think this is as well important as the business role. We don't do for philanthropy. We think that this is the best way to make business. That's why we do it. The topic is quite important this evening because it is the future of work. And pragmatically, we used to say it's important to have a good work tomorrow, but it's also as well very important to have a good work today. Because the work, I really believe the work is the foundation of the dignity of human being. And if we see some situation like in some part of Europe where every 2 young people is out of work, this is a really dramatic situation because we cannot count on the contribution of these people. And the work should be a decent work. It means should have good condition of working, sustainable working time, should be a work that is fair remunerated, and should give the possibility to the worker to improve the standard of his living and also the professional standard. That's why I think the government that sometimes is busy in financial transactions that not always are the main topic of their activity should have on the priority on the agenda the improvement of the condition of work. And because it is a matter of education and is a matter of market. It's a matter of education because we need a comprehensive system of education in order to change the approach from simple knowledge to capability to learn continuously and to implement what we are learning. The second is the market, because it should be a market where it's easy to hire people. And this is a market that should be open also to people that currently are excluded from this market. It's of course a matter also of attitude and culture, for sure. And I think in this case the business leaders have an important role because we should really put in the middle of the attention people. People because we really believe that these are the key factor of a successful story in a country. And I think our success will be in having the young people not anymore asking us this question, how I can get employed. But the question should be how I can build my future. And this is a big change. And as I used to say to my people, my colleagues, we should be in the position that to move from a situation where we feel to work for somebody else to a situation where we work because we feel to be owners. And I think is what we try to do in Pekao. It's not easy, but we are trying to do this. We are guided by values. I think there are few clear principles. We try to do the best for our customer. What is good for customers is good for us. We try to honor and respect our people, and we strive to ethical principle, always. I think we build up a good institution, is respected also outside Poland. We put a lot of effort on that. I put a lot of efforts, personal effort, but special efforts on my people. And I can assure you we will do our best because the principle, the values that today Pekao has will be kept also in the future. Thank you very much and enjoy the evening.
Luigi Lovaglio, the president of the management board of Pekao SA. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the organizers of EFNI received a letter, well, all of us, we received a letter from the president of Poland, Mr. Andrzej Duda. Let me now read out the letter from the president of Poland. Labor, ladies and gentlemen, labor or work is the basic economic category. It's creativity in civilization dimension, ethical dimension. John Paul II focused that work is the main dimension of being, of human being on the earth, that it gives dignity. And he remembered that work is for the person and not person for the work, which is why we need consideration over the future of work in a variety of aspects, economic, market, and social and axiological. I want to congratulate the organizers of the forum. The international debates in Sopot is a very important place for reflection on challenges facing Europe and Poland, and was valuable taken up of people of many circles for social understanding and to build up community. Having now this future of work, I believe that you want to talk about it from the perspective of both employees and employers. Only this dialogue, taking consideration the variety of interests, needs, and conditions, may be sustainable. In a global world and in Europe, we have very uneasy times, a lot of challenges. Economic and social dimension of work is the main denominator of the changes, demographic changes, changing labor markets, the technological revolution 4.0, which may bring new organizational standards and end of many professions like precarious works, weak or safety and security of workers. Well, these are our joint challenges which we should take up in solidarity. Also here in Poland, we see very serious issues. We see that we need change of the present development model based on price competitiveness and not on quality. Preferring this first model was resulted in suffering of workers because labor is underpaid, is deprived stability with one of the biggest scale of self-employment, which weakens the capacity to save and also social cohesion. And getting to more innovative economy is also in the interest of businesses because it means more effectiveness and efficiency and having better position on the global market. I trust that awareness of these challenges will, here in Poland, encourage you to good social dialogue. I wish you good and fruitful debates leading to long-term solutions. I will learn the results of your discussions with high interest. Once again, my best regards, Andrzej Duda. Thank you very much, President, for his letter. And the Sopot declaration, which we will adopt at the end of this year's forum, will be sent to Mr. President. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will be having a very important moment. There will be we will be having chair of the EFNI Program Council, chair of the Committee on Industry, Research and Energy in European Parliament, who arrived to us directly from Brussels. So we have now Professor Jerzy Buzek. Hello. I just want to subscribe to all the welcome words. I will not be repeating anything because now it has taken too much time. Well, in Sopot here, we will be discussing on the most important issues which we face now, and we will be having fierce discussions, which is great value of this forum. This year, we will be having more global issues than before. We know perfectly well that the free market system has its drawbacks, especially when we see what's happening in South America or in Africa. Christine Lagarde asks question how to save capitalism against itself. We will be talking about democracy, I suppose, which is not too easy to be implemented. We see it in the southern part of Mediterranean Sea, and we, in the Euro-Atlantic community, we have some problems with populism. We tend to close down in our nations, if not in national ghettos, but it might be dangerous. And technology is the third thing. Quite often, it is used in a way which its creators forecasted. How to save it all, how to save the victories of our civilizations. Also, we have this question about the labor market. And this year, we are lucky, really, because we are having a keynote speaker in our opening gala, who will be with us tomorrow. And let me now introduce our special guest, the guest of honor of the gala. So I will change now the language into English to honor him.
Let me say Mr. Vice President. I had to change to English because you are fluent in 6 languages. Fluent in 6 languages, not yet in Polish. I'm very suffering from this point of view. And well, let me say, our guest is a first Vice President of the European Commission in charge of better regulation, international relations, the rule of law, and the Charter of Fundamental Rights. Very important from point of view of our discussion, also because he's got enormous experience in national and international politics, a member of the Dutch Parliament for some terms in office, and also Dutch government, with huge support 2 years ago when he left for the European Commission as the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Support from the public opinion was almost 80%, and it's an unusual situation. And we, of course, we need a new sense of community to reflect the great variety of perspective, and on the basis of fundamental values, and of course taking care of fundamental rights. And the future of labor, we think from the point of view of solidarity we can offer in the labor market. And our special guest is a person not only dedicated to dialogue, but also understands the value of compromise. That's so important for our discussion, not only here in Sopot, but the European Union in the global scale as well. Our questions are global, all the problems are global, but our politicians, usually all over the world, are responsible in a single national country, except for one small case. It is European Union. We try to integrate. How to answer the global questions with national politics all over the world. How to overcome all the problems of our civilization, Euro-Atlantic civilization. We are responsible for that. The State of Union should be the start of our discussion. Our special guest, Vice President of the European Commission, will say us how it looks like. The Union today, where we start, and maybe he could answer also a few questions or to leave us the most important questions. Mr. Timmermans, dear Frans, we are very glad having you together with us, and the floor is yours.
Mr. President, dear Jerzy, thank you very much for this very too kind introduction. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is such a scary thought that I am the only obstacle between you and the main course of this dinner. I will probably get more applause if I leave the stage immediately, but still, I will try and share a few thoughts with you. Tonight I want to start by very briefly paying tribute to a son of Poland who sadly died yesterday and who was a very good friend, a great humanitarian, and a laureate of the Nobel Peace Prize, Szymon Peres. I have many stories to tell about him and my few encounters I had with him over the decades, but one I want to share with you tonight. I once witnessed him talking to one of his friends who also had Polish roots. And they were talking about their childhood in Poland and making a lot of fun about it and laughing. And I asked his friend, "So you're Polish?" which was an opening question, but also a silly question because it was evident. And he answered in this way. He said, "Yes, my friend, I'm Polish. What you see here is 100% chopped liver." And he said, you know the story in the Bible of Canaan and the multiplication of the change of water into wine. He said, my Polish mother, she was capable of a much bigger miracle. She could take any part of an animal and turn it into chopped liver. We salute you, great man, Shimon Peres. Ladies and gentlemen, how can one not be filled with optimism standing here in Sopot, on historic ground, in the presence of men and women who had the audacity to challenge a system when this system seemed eternal and unmovable? I salute you, Marshal of the Senate, for your courage in 1980 to take up the gauntlet and to say to an unjust and dictatorial system, no more. We will take no more. How much courage was necessary to do that? Sometimes I wonder if people here in Sopot and Gdańsk understand to what extent Lech Wałęsa has inspired generations of Europeans. I was a young student in 1980, and I sat before the television set looking at what was happening in Gdańsk, and we cried when we saw the crackdown in 1981 of the regime. And we all thought, frankly, we all thought, the division of Europe is forever. The Poles, as always, are very, very courageous, but the world is as it is. Lech Wałęsa and his comrades were right and we were wrong. It takes determination, it takes dreams, it takes justice, then even the strongest, more oppressive system can be overturned if it is unjust, if it is outdated, if it stands with its back to the future. That was the communist system that you defeated. I was a student at the time. In 1989, my oldest son was born. If I talk to him about that time in Europe, I took him on a tour of the Baltic state last year. Everything that seems still a miracle to me, the euro there, no borders, people talking, dressing, looking like my children, I see this still as a miracle. My son says, okay, that's it, that's how Europe is, that's how I am a European. Is that not a huge cause for optimism and hope? That my son, who was born in 1989, sees this as the new normal, which for us, I was trained as a soldier to fight the Warsaw Pact. The only good thing that came out of it is that I learned Russian, which is very useful. But that was our world, and look at the world today. So even though today we have many, many worries, many concerns, let's look at Sopot and Gdańsk. Let's revive the memory of the early 1980s. And let's then say to each other, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Now let me turn to our challenges. Yes, Europe is challenged. And yes, these challenges have many, many faces. Terrorism, globalization, migration, economic crisis, unemployment, banking crisis. This whole combination of things that bring insecurity, which are embedded and encircled by the fourth industrial revolution, which will undoubtedly move things. The core issue for Europe today, I would say the core issue for the world today, is how do we handle the fourth industrial revolution? How do we make sure that we are capable of taking it, molding it, changing it into something that serves the interests of all our citizens? How do we do that? My friends, that is the main question we need to answer now, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. And make no mistake, there is a new ideological battle in this world. Don't be distracted by discussions about a clash of civilizations or a clash between religions. The real fight in the world is between openness and closeness. The real fight in the world is between those who believe in a world of compromise, of interchange, of openness, of contact, of dialogue, and those who believe in a world of a closed shop, of fences and borders, of a perceived national purity. Yes, the European Union needs to do a better job at protecting its international borders, its external borders. Yes, the Commission has made proposals to do that, and I salute the members of the European Parliament here present who did an incredible job in making these decisions possible within 6 months. Now we need to put them into practice. We will start early October. The headquarters will be in Warsaw. European Border Guard, European Coast Guard will be put into place. It is highly necessary. What we don't need is borders inside Europe. And I'm talking about physical borders, economic borders, and also mental borders, I would call them. I strongly believe that those who believe they can corner off their own country from the rest of the European Union by building borders will perhaps have a couple of months or years respite. But then, creating borders inside Europe will have a profound effect on the whole of the European construction. Creating borders in Europe will be the end of Schengen. The end of Schengen will have profound consequences for the workings of the internal market, negative consequences. So be careful what you do. Preserving Schengen is not just about making it easier for people to travel across borders. Preserving Schengen is an essential part of preserving the internal market, of making the internal market work better, of preparing our societies for the challenges of globalization. These things are intimately linked. That is why I believe we need to move forward to rid ourselves of the illusion that national borders will offer solutions. They will not. We need European solidarity. My second point is about where do we take our economy and our labor market. Do we say, let's try and keep people comfortable where they are, which is sometimes the predominant feeling in politics in many nations. And it is understandable. This is the first time since the Second World War in many of our nations that parents fear that their children will be worse off than they are today. Let's take my own country as an example, the Netherlands. It is true, doing extremely well. We have just surpassed Germany on the World Economic Forum ranking in terms of performance of our economy. And let me tell you this, we share one thing with the Poles. We love nothing better than to beat the Germans at something. I salute Elmar Brok, who's just arrived. As usual, Elmar Brok arrives late. But to compensate for that, he mostly leaves early as well. So the country is doing economically very well. If you talk to individual people in my country individually and you ask them, are you happy? 9 out of 10, they will say, yes, I'm happy and I'm doing well. And then they will add, but we are not doing well. And they mean society. This is something we need to think about. Why are so many people in Europe individually quite happy, but collectively have this feeling of unease? I'm not sure if this applies in Poland as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. If I ask you, has there ever been a time in Polish history when this country was freer, when the borders of this country were completely uncontested like they are today, when this country is part of a European family as full-fledged and strong member, when East is no longer a pejorative qualification, which it was during the Cold War, when Poland is no longer in the East or in the West, but in the middle of Europe. Has there ever been a time like that? What would be your answer? Probably no. Let's not forget what has been achieved by you. Poland has no one to say thank you to, but to its own citizens. Let's be very clear about this. But Poland is also part of a wider European family that can only grasp the opportunities globalization has to offer if we do it together. We need to take our economy to a sustainable economy. We need to make sure that our young people have the skills to operate in the economy of tomorrow. We need to make sure that all this creativity that is just waiting to be explored in Europe is put to good task for our economy. And we can only do this if we are open for exchanges, if talents can travel freely across Europe, if people can come here if they see a company they like, if they see a company that needs their talent, and if Polish people can go all over Europe to share their talents, as they have done in the last decades. And speaking out clearly against aggression against Poles in the United Kingdom, as they have suffered since the Brexit debate, is not just about justice. It's not just about the right thing to do because people should not be attacked. It is because with every Pole or other national being attacked for being from another country, we destroy the idea of Europe. And we cannot allow that to happen. There is this false contradiction between the nations of Europe and the European Union. I think the real contradiction is between patriots and nationalists. Patriots are people who love their country because they are proud of what it is, of what it can do, of what it has done. They are proud of what it is able to do, and they want to show that pride to the rest of the world in an open way. Come and see us. Look what we can do. Come and join us. Help us. Talk to us. Nationalism, sooner or later, will go looking for enemies. Internal enemies, external enemies. And let's not be confused. Let's not be confused. There is nothing wrong. I would say it is beautiful to be a patriot. But let's that not degenerate into being a nationalist. I strongly believe this with my experience, having lived and traveled all across Europe. I also strongly believe this, and I want to share this with you right now. because of the historic experience of my own family. My father is getting on, getting old, and as happens with people who are getting on, the past becomes more and more important. And when I talk to him, more often than not, he starts talking about his childhood years in Breda, in the Netherlands, under German occupation. When he was suffering as a young boy, malnutrition, he was very skinny and his parents were very worried. And then they were liberated by General Maciek's soldiers, Polish soldiers. Their street, they saw them, the helmets with the eagle. And my grandparents took Polish soldiers into their house. And one of them was a tailor. And most of them spoke a bit of German because that was the only language they shared, ironically enough, in those days. And they, out of an old uniform, they made a tailored uniform, Polish uniform, for my father. And he was used as a mascot in the morning when they did their exercises. And now that he's old, these are the memories that are coming back. Can you imagine that I'm standing between two generations? My father, who has very vivid memories of fighting in his street and Polish soldiers dying for our freedom, and my son, who can't even imagine what it was like in the Cold War, and I'm there in between, and I share living memories with both of them. Isn't this a miracle, ladies and gentlemen? Should we not be proud of that miracle as Europeans? And yes, of course, what we did in the past is not a guarantee for the future. But the past should be the place where we find the force to do what is necessary for the future. The past should not be a place that we idealize, that we create a mythical place and we promise people to take them back to a past that never was, because that will lead to a future that will never be. We need to take people into the future. And it is my strong belief that this future will be diverse, this future will be international, this future can be built because we have the smartest, healthiest, most open generation in our history, in our young men and women who will shape this future with us and especially themselves for themselves. You know, I have to mention this subject. You would be surprised if I didn't. The rule of law. Why do I believe the rule of law is so essential in that? Our countries are diverse and will become more diverse. And with diverse, I don't just mean ethnically diverse, culturally diverse. I also mean politically diverse, diverse in the choices you make in your life. And diverse societies, when they are democracies, what they need in a democracy is at least as much respect for the wishes of the minorities as for the wishes of the majorities. That is the essence of democracy. If you translate democracy into, if I have the majority, I dictate what will happen, then you turn democracy into a tyranny. In that context, respect of institutions for each other's respective role becomes essential. The independence of the judiciary is an essential element in the construction of our modern societies and will become more important, not less important, in the future. Defending the independence of the judiciary is a patriotic duty of every citizen of the European Union, and the European Commission will stand at the sides of those who do that. And let me stress very clearly, this is not interference in internal affairs of a country. This is not talking down to a nation or a country. I would not dare. I might not have lived if Polish soldiers did not liberate my father in 1944. So I only have deepest respect for Poland and its courage. But I do maintain that it is our duty to maintain the institutions that hold together the values of the European Union, but also the construction of the European Union. Because it is beyond values. Values should be enough, but it's beyond that. It's also very practical. The independence of the judiciary is essential for the internal market. Here again, you might not see it at face value, but it is true. An investor needs to be sure that if there is a conflict, he can go or she can go to a court, and that court will judge independently of political influence on the basis of the merit of the law. That is essential. The European Union is based on a few, very few principles that I want to, and I'll end there before you all starve, that I want to reiterate tonight. The first principle is, we know as nations we might have diverging interests, but we all know that it is in our common interest to seek compromise on all these diverging interests. Let's stop at national level to play this zero-sum game. I need to win, he needs to lose, that's the only way forward. Let's reinvent the beauty of a compromise as something that makes everyone advance in this world where Europe needs to be united to face globalization. That's the first principle. The second principle is this: Europe has small and Europe has big nations. The only way you can prevent small nations to be crushed by big nations is to make sure that small and big nations all observe the rule of law. Treaties apply to everyone regardless of their size or importance. If we abandon that principle, the European Union will not survive. We need to maintain that principle, and it will have to be applied to all states. But finally, let me return to my main point. If nationalism, which to some people seems an answer today because they are worried about their futures, so they want to return to something that they think did the job in the past. But if it prevails, the nations of Europe, they will probably survive. The European Union, my friends, will certainly not. And you can say that might not be a bad thing. I think it would be a bad thing. Sooner or later in the history of mankind and of Europe, we will come up with a better solution for working together than the European Union. But for the time being, I do maintain this is just as good as it gets in terms of how we can cooperate for the common good of all our peoples. And I count on Poland to not stand with its back to the future, to certainly not stand with its back to the European Union. But I count on Poland to take its European destiny in hand, to show to all those other Europeans what can be done if you have the audacity to dream about freedom, and to take us in a future that will be prosperous for all of us. Thank you very much.
Frans Timmermans, pierwszy wiceprzewodniczący.
Frans Timmermans, the first Vice President of the European Commission.
Thank you. Gość honorowy Europejskiego Forum Nowych Idei 2016.
Our keynote speaker of European Forum for New Ideas 2016. European Forum for New Ideas is the international meeting of business communities where we debate about the future of Europe and the future of the European economy. We have the global context. Every year we have a lot of new ideas that will contribute to the change. And we discuss these ideas here in Sopot. We have official discussion during panels and plenary sessions, and they will begin tomorrow. On top of it, we are going to have lectures and roundtable discussions. And we also have off-records, more informal discussions, for instance, during dinner or during the night owl discussions. Today, night owl discussions will start late at 10:45 p.m. So let me ask our hosts and moderators not to leave our pavilion because we will take time to have dinner. Now the main course is arriving. And then at 10:45, we will have our night owl discussions at the Sheraton Hotel. Why are good people divided by politics and religion? What kind of capitalism is suitable for Poland? And the screening of the movie, The Path Towards Mastery. I will provide more details about the night owl discussions after the main course. And now let me remind you that the mobile app of European Forum for New Ideas will support and facilitate your communication, and it will help you review individual items of the program. So please download the app from App Store or Google Play. And this is the first time when we have a social newsroom, where we have a special team that is actually doing the live coverage of EFNI in the social media. So stay tuned. We have EFNI, hashtag EFNI 2016. So post and tweet with this hashtag. Like and share. And now I wish you very enjoyable evening, interesting discussions, and bon appetit. Thank you.
Sea and sand, waters and shells.